Hi, this is Curt and welcome to another edition of Fire Law Roundup.
And so now I want to jump into, because you and I have covered this, I swear, at least twice in the past.
Yeah, so we did. We covered it once when she was terminated. Now we've got a female firefighter from Mobile. Number one, she was terminated. Number two, we covered it when it was only about 3 weeks ago when two African-American captains were disciplined, and now they're suing. One was terminated, one was suspended. They're suing to overturn their discipline.
So here's the basic facts, because I got to tell you, on paper, she's got a really good case. So what basically happened, to go through it again, is she's a probationary firefighter with very good reviews from at least the captain. She, when she joins, there's no prohibition against tattoos. She has a tattoo on her neck. They implement a non-tattoo policy, and in order to, which really shouldn't affect her at all, but you can't do something ex post facto after the fact. So, but regardless, she says, okay, I'm going to grow my hair out so it can't be seen. 3 weeks ago, we dealt with the chief or a chief comes down and starts interviewing her and demanding to inspect her, which I thought was a possible Fourth Amendment search and seizure issue. In any event, people came to her rescue saying, what are you doing? Start making phone calls saying, was this authorized? Because the individual, the probationary firefighter at the time, was actually trying to grow her hair out and did actually make other attempts to cover the tattoo. Now, and this is where timing matters, because timing means a lot, right? She ultimately is terminated. Jumping forward, she's ultimately terminated, and we don't, unless I'm wrong, we don't know why she's terminated other than conduct unbecoming. We don't know what that conduct was at this point, but she is claiming, listen, I am a African-American, I believe, homosexual female. Well, that puts her in at least three, right? If she's Jewish or Muslim, we're doing good, right?
And she's Muslim. She's Muslim.
So we've got four classes. So the McDonnell-Douglas test that she's she's hitting it out of the park just by her mere existence, and she's got great reviews by at least the captain who came. I think the same captain who came to her defense, but her captain, right, her direct supervisor, is giving her good reviews. So now she's terminated. The timing, right? So on October 6th of 22, she files a formal grievance alleging discrimination on the basis of sex. Now, why does she do this? Because there's numerous comments made by at least one individual that says, I don't think women should be in the fire service. She complains about those comments. She alleges that people are aware in the higher ranks of those comments. So she has made her case on a first blush, right? The problem is now, a month and 4 days later, after which her tattoo is no longer visible, hair only grows so quickly, she's terminated, right? A month after this formal grievance, she's terminated for conduct unbecoming. That is why I started with the prior case about pretext. They are going to have to find, despite her great reviews, despite her compliance with a policy that didn't exist at the time she was hired, and despite all of her complaints about discrimination on the basis only of sex, by the way, although I thought there was a religious portion here. In any event, their employer's got to come forward and say, we have a totally independent reason.
Right.
That is going to be very tough.
If they can, then they can. But if they're going to try to say, here's the thing where they get in trouble, all our employees are at will, so we can fire them anytime for any reason or no reason, right? Well, you can't get by the McDonnell-Douglas test if you think you can just fire everybody because they're at will. You have to be able to show that you had a reasonable basis for doing that.
And by the way, that basis for doing it is 100% not a motivating factor, right? That the religion, that the sex had no basis whatsoever. It was not a, as we would call it, but for reason, right? But for her being a, well, even so, if she was female, if she was gay, if she was Muslim, if she was black, none of those had any way related. And by the way, throw in, and it doesn't matter that she filed a grievance about any of this against us. None of that was related to the fact that she did something else. And look, unless, and this happens, the lawyer may not be saying, oh, by the way, she also skipped work. By the way, and I'm making this up. By the way, she also told her supervisor to F off. By the way, all these things, right? There's going to have to be something the employer is going to come forward with. And this, again, is why employee evaluations help or hurt you. You and I have done cases where they really help, where you have a bad probationary employee and they're constantly writing you up saying on this day, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. Unless those exist, which the employees not in, normally the employees would acknowledge bad performance reviews saying they were a pretext, they were a setup.
Yeah, Brad, I don't know if you saw this part of it, but it's an allegation from the earlier case filed by the captains. The captain was ordered to change her evaluation to downgrade her and recommend termination, and he refused to do it. And that was, I'm assuming, behind one of the reasons why he ended up getting terminated. Yeah. Or the other one ended up getting disciplined. They were, so again, change the facts, or again, we don't know what the facts are, but assuming that he, let's assume that he, for personal reasons, graded her higher than she deserved. Okay. If you assume that, if that is the issue, and I have no way of knowing that, but that now you've got another issue. I mean, how do you authorize somebody to do an evaluation and then you want to second guess their evaluation? That's right. That's a problem in and of itself. So
this is headed for settlement as far as I'm concerned, but for the fact it's gotten to the point of such high publicity, if by nothing else, you and I. But this case leans in her favor. If you had to score this,
agree. I'd be a little concerned. Now, again, maybe the fire department has some other facts that we're not aware of, but what's publicly available is certainly, certainly is tipping in her favor, I would say, and also the captains.
And, we have seen a case, Scott, a long time ago where the employee became so bitter. I cannot think what this was. The employee became so bitter and dissatisfied at work. They were constantly complaining. And I think the employer says, oh, they're a horrible person, bad employee, they're bitter. And yet the defense is, but you made me that way. You keep treating me this way. How do you expect me to react? Who knows? Maybe they come forward and say, oh, you were so pissed off and upset at all the time, and you weren't getting along with your employees and your coworkers, and you're creating a disharmonious atmosphere and environment that we got rid of you. Who knows what comes forward on this?
This kind of gets into an area that I've been lecturing on and studying in, but personality disorders and different things. But very often, someone's sized up as being a problem employee, and then the department gets in a situation where saying this person's just going to be a headache, just going to be a headache, just going to be a headache. And now they have this bias, and whether it's racially motivated or gender or orientation, whatever, or they just legitimately feel that this person's a problem, then they're looking for an excuse or a way to get rid of them. And they rationalize that kind of process as okay because they've reached the conclusion that the person's no good. And you see that a lot. And I'm not saying that's what's going on here, but I see it a lot. And I think it explains a lot of the things that we see. So who knows what's actually going on here.